Hey, welcome back. Imagine looking at the front page and seeing 35,000 U.S. troops, a threat to target Iranian oil, and a 26 trillion won emergency budget in Seoul. And it is all connected by, this one invisible thread.
Yeah, it is a pretty heavy news day for sure.
Right. Today, folks, we are unpacking how international conflict, domestic policy, and the global tech race are all sort of converging on your portfolios.
And we really have to start with the geopolitical shift that is, well, altering the market's trajectory right now. I mean, U.S. President Trump's recent speech completely reset expectations regarding the U.S.-Iran conflict.
Yeah, he warned that if no deal is reached in the next 2 to 3 weeks, the U.S. will actually target Iranian power and oil facilities.
Exactly. And he specifically criticized South Korea, along with Europe, Japan, and China for, not providing military aid. And that is despite the 45,000 U.S. troops stationed here.
I was looking at the energy markets right after that speech, and wow, WTI crude futures spiked over 10% to $111 per barrel. I mean, that immediate energy shock has to be what triggered the steep decline we saw in Seoul, right?
Precisely. Korea is highly dependent on imported energy, so a threat to Middle Eastern oil directly impacts the manufacturing bottom line. And the market data, well, it definitely reflects that vulnerability.
Yeah, it was a rough day for the indices.
It really was. The K2SPI dropped 4.47%, falling 244.65 points to close at 5234.05.
Ouch.
Yeah. And the KOSDQ fell 5.36%, which actually triggered a sell sidecar.
Just to clarify for our listeners, a sidecar is essentially pulling the emergency brake, right? Like halting trading temporarily to stop the market from a free fall.
That is exactly right. We also saw the $1 exchange rate rise 18.41 to 1519.71.
Man, it is like a sudden financial weather front moving directly from Washington to Seoul.
Right.
Which explains why the domestic policy response had to be so immediate.
Right. Korean President Lee Jae-myung addressed the nation, and he notably used the word crisis 28 times.
28 times. That sends a pretty clear message.
Very clear. He proposed a 26.2 trillion won war supplementary budget. This includes providing up to 600,000 won in local currency to the bottom 70% of income earners, accompanied by some pretty strict warnings against market hoarding.
Okay, wait. I see the immediate need, obviously. But deploying a 26.2 trillion won budget during a crisis usually means issuing bonds. I mean, doesn't that risk adding a dangerous layer of national debt right when the economy is already so vulnerable?
Well, that is the standard concern with supplementary budgets, for sure. But according to the proposal, this specific one is categorized as a debt-free budget.
Oh, really? How does that work?
The funding actually comes from 25.2 trillion won in excess tax revenue, plus 1 trillion won pulled from existing funds. So, by utilizing that excess tax revenue rather than issuing new government bonds, the administration aims to inject liquidity without increasing the national debt ledger.
Okay, so Seoul is spending over 26 trillion won just to put out today's geopolitical fires. But folks, the problem is, while Korea is forced to manage this present crisis, the rest of the world is aggressively funding the future. Like, look at what's happening in space right now.
Yeah, the Artemis 2 launch.
Exactly. NASA just launched Artemis 2, sending 4 astronauts toward the moon for the first time in 53 years.
And there is a really critical Korean business angle to that mission. Aboard Artemis 2 is the K-RadCube.
Right, the Korean-made CubeSat.
Yeah, it is carrying semiconductors from Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix. The objective there is to collect performance data in high Earth orbit. They're essentially testing how these specific commercial chips withstand the radiation of deep space.
Which is obviously vital for building the next generation of satellite infrastructure.
Exactly.
So the U.S. is taking its hardware to the moon. Meanwhile, back on Earth, China is massively accelerating its physical AI capabilities. I was reading about Kinglong, this open-source humanoid robot out of Shanghai.
Oh, right, the new humanoid model.
Yeah. I mean, it stands 185 centimeters tall and weighs 80 kilograms. But what really stands out is how they're actually developing it.
The development methodology is the real story here. They are pooling 5.26 million training data points across an ecosystem of more than 300 collaborating companies.
That is just wild.
Right. Instead of a single company developing a proprietary system in isolation, this shared data allows the robot's AI to learn exponentially faster. Because of this open-source approach, they are releasing upgraded models every 4 months.
Every 4 months. That is like treating physical hardware with the speed of an open-source software project. Listeners, just imagine the compounding effect of that shared data.
It really is a compounding threat for the market. Hardware is now being iterated like software. If a robot in Beijing learns to navigate a space better, well, a robot in Shanghai instantly gets the update.
Right. It is a shared brain accelerating at an open source pace, which, leaves folks with a really critical question to ponder. How can Korean businesses effectively balance surviving these sudden, unpredictable financial whiplashes while simultaneously keeping pace in a relentless, open source global tech race?
That's all for today's deep dive.
We'll be back with more insights. You've been listening to the Korea Economy Brief straight from the front page of Seoul Economic Daily. Thanks for tuning in.